Greetings, precious souls. Welcome. Welcome to Cosmic Truth Oneness, illuminating your true essence. The Cosmic Truth Conference is gathering a unique panel of New Earth luminaries who will share deep, compassionate, transformational, unifying wisdom. We are invited to illuminate our true essential selves, open our hearts, come together in oneness, raising our vibration as a species, together birthing the new golden earth. Thank you for being here with us. I am Annelise Asharia, host, and I'm honored to welcome our guest, Owen Waters. Greetings, Owen.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Lovely. So let me introduce you to everyone. Owen Waters is a lifelong mystic who teaches clear and concise metaphysical insights. Since his spiritual awakening in 1963, he's dedicated his life to solving metaphysical mysteries. In 2002, he founded the infinitebeing.com website, defining infinite being as a descriptive name for the consciousness present within all things. His first book was published in 2005, popularizing the term the shift to describe the revolution in consciousness since the 60s. He also coined the term spiritual metaphysics as the study of the science of the creator, and later defined the law of creation in its most concise form. In 2007, he was honored when an ascended master entrusted him to spread the answer to what had been the greatest spiritual mystery of all time, the reason why the universe was created. In 2023, he recognized that the long-awaited new enlightenment era had dawned and revealed how his superconscious attributes will lead to a transformation from the interim chaos into an age of creative abundance. So you can find Owen on his website, infinitebeing.com. So, Owen, today we'll be conversing on your topic, which is Discover Your Soul-Inspired Purpose.
Right.
So I'd like to start with, we've seen that in 2007, you were honored when an ascended master entrusted you to help spread the answer to what had been this greatest spiritual mystery of all time, the reason why the universe was created. So in one word, could you tell us what is that reason?
Oh, one word. That's curiosity. It was a phrase I was given, and he made sure I wrote it down, which is a good idea. These things fade, especially with a contact with a higher consciousness. He said curiosity was the first seed of action. So the word seed is interesting because it meant that was the start, and it grew into what eventually became the creation of the universe. Initially, the one became curious as to how it would look from a different viewpoint, let's say a second viewpoint. And from there, many viewpoints, and today, infinite viewpoints of which we're all parts of the whole.
Yes, that's wonderful. So it's this the curiosity. It's beautiful, this idea, because it also, I think it also links up with innocence and this this notion of being open.
Sure, yes.
What is your definition of a person's souls? And also, could you unpack how it relates to the higher self?
Oh, I regard them as pretty much the same. The soul and higher self, I think terms are interchangeable. The definitions are a bit confusing today with, the people talk about ascension to 5D, but the definitions of the fifth dimension are wide and varied. But in terms of defining the soul, I'd say it's your immortal inner being, and it resides in what I would call fifth density, which is a non-physical mental realm. So your soul has a mental energy body, and it oversees the physical body here in third density, and also if you were in the afterlife in fourth density, your spirit body. And so the spirit body is more dense than the soul. It's made of etheric energy. And the physical body here in third density is even more compressed in terms of matter. It's based on electric energy. Electrons are the basis of the physical body. So, but in terms of your soul, it's connected to source and all other souls up there in fifth density. So it can orchestrate events of synchronicity, let's say, and help you with pursuing your life plan, which is something we all made even before we were born. And actually, every night when you go into deep sleep, you touch base with your soul as to how it's going and make minor adjustments. You know, things do change, you know, unpredictably. So that does happen in deep sleep every night. Of course, in the morning, you tend to not consciously remember, but intuitively you feel what's right for your choices and actions.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. So I would also love to hear, how can our soul be this source of great wisdom?
Oh, well, it's, let's see, well, it's pretty much in tune with, what's the word? Not galactic wisdom, but universal wisdom, that's the term. It has access to information almost from anywhere. It's also in contact with other souls, as I said, for synchronicity, you know, arranging meetings with other souls. Perhaps it's time for you to meet a soulmate or a life partner, and these things take a lot of arranging, you know, and to be done at the right time and the right decisions to make, so you'll be where you need to be and as the other person does. Also, your soul does run simulations. It exists in a place in the mental realms where it's not limited by space or time. So if you have, let's say, two choices, and it can say, well, what would happen in choice A, and run it along a timeline and see what would actually really happen, not just theoretically, but a simulation. And the same thing with choice B. And that's how these things are reviewed, so that when you make that sleep contact at night or during meditation, looking for intuitive feedback, you'll get the answer already done for you. It's quite a service.
Mm. It is, and but when you mentioned those simulation, are they can they be compared to timelines?
The simulations are well, they are kind of personal timelines, you know, maybe not big group ones or national or world ones, but you know, they will only realize if you put them into physical action. So all of this, it happens in the mental realms as a what if, but it's a very accurate simulation.
Beautiful. So, we mentioned the soul, and there must be many ways to gain inspiration from our soul. And in your years of research, what is the best method that you have found?
Oh, well, there's a number. If you're going to use meditation, well, let me think. Actually, the best one I found is, it has three main components. I call them curiosity, silence, and surprise. If you're curious, that triggers a lot of things. Well, of course, curiosity, the original seed of all action, right? So that creates a search for information at a soul level. So you're thinking, oh, what if I, whatever. And then you have to use the silence phase and stop the physical mind speculating, because the soul mind has to do the work. The soul, you could call that the knowing mind. and the brain, the physical mind, or the thinking mind, perhaps. And so you need to step away from it. And if you keep getting the idea pop up in the hours or even days that follow, wondering what the answer would be, you have to go silent again and decide you're going to wait for that inspiration. When it comes through, it'll be a surprise. And that's the litmus test. If you're surprised, all of a sudden this information comes in, oh, that's the answer to my question. And you know if it's a surprise, your physical mind did not invent it, because the physical mind likes to invent answers kind of like to be nice. I'm not sure why exactly, but the physical mind does have that habit of doing its own speculation as to what the answer would be, and it doesn't have the capabilities of the knowing soul mind. So you need that surprise element when you go, oh yes, I remember that question, and all of a sudden you know the answer. Well, that's genuine. So that's the best one. Certainly meditation. With meditation, repetitive action is the big thing. If you can organize your day so that you meditate for maybe 20 minutes each morning first thing, you become more intuitive. It just comes with the territory. It's a great thing to do. In the meditation, you're really looking to connect with the divine part of yourself. So always be looking up rather than thinking of the shopping list, you know. So those morning meditations where you quiet the mind and think of whatever your concept of the divine or the creator or your soul and higher self, they're all avenues to higher frequencies. That's really the best way to do meditation is habit. The other thing is the follow your inner joy method. I rather like that if it's done right. Some say follow your highest excitement, but the word highest means highest vibrational. So I don't think I'd like a piece of chocolate cake counts. You know, it's a frequency thing. You're looking for something inspiring, spiritual, something that would energize you in your life purpose. It could be even, you know, building a new business and the ideas are coming in thick and fast and, oh, I should do this. Well, there you go. That's your highest excitement at the moment. And it's your soul telling you that this is the next step you need to take. It doesn't give you a roadmap of everywhere from here to the end product, but it will always contact through a sense of joy or inner excitement as an indication that it's communicating the soul mind to the physical mind. So following your inner joy is a day-to-day navigation tool, kind of short range. As I said, you don't see the whole picture, but your soul does and nudges you in the right direction that way. The soul's language is partly joy, but also bear in mind that the language of the soul is more symbols rather than names and numbers and you know, language things. So that's why when you have dreams that seem symbolic in some way, you need to unravel the symbols. You know, in the dream I was doing this and that, made no sense when you think of it, but stop and think what were the symbols represented in the background or the action or whatever, because they may be another avenue of message from your soul mind to your physical mind. And of course, with dreams, they always evaporate within seconds when you wake. So you have to grab a hold of them and recall them before you do even look at the clock. Just the first thing before you do anything as you wake up, and then you can capture those scenes and then think of the symbolism. It's often very informative. So those all are my favorite methods, I guess
Yes,
I'd say.
they are beautiful because they speak of this joy, of this curiosity, obviously, which is this beautiful word that you were given. And well, it's really it's both very light-hearted and simple and joyful. So it's beautiful. So in your 2005 book called The Shift, you tracked the progress of this revolution in human consciousness in the 60s. So could you share where are we now in the shift and what happened next?
Oh yeah, it's a long story, isn't it? And it's been going since the 60s. We really saw the first manifestation in 1967. The famous Summer of Love was the first manifestation of it. Of course, the energy shift began a little before then. Probably 1964 was the key turning point. But in every decade since, if you look back, you can see how consciousness generally has risen among people who are interested in higher consciousness. You could also say those who are interested in lower consciousness have gotten worse. But, in general, the human consciousness, in fact, the whole collective has risen in frequency every year since then. And the term the shift was brought back by someone at the Monroe Institute who was tasked with visiting the future as a remote viewing or out of body experience. And he came back and said, oh yeah, they call this time of change that we're going through now the shift. Although I suspect what he'd observed wasn't so much the gradual change, but rather the big day of change, which is yet to come. I'm pretty sure it's a lot less than a decade to go before we hit that. It's a global ascension event where the frequency of physical matter gets upgraded. And I did write a book maybe 3 years ago called Ascension to a Higher World or Realm. That describe the process. It's a little complex. The mechanics of raising the frequency of the planet from third density into fourth density. It will actually land in the place that's currently the entry realm to the heavenly worlds, in the afterlife. People go into fourth density and they have healing, treatment, life reviews, counseling, whatever, to get used to life in the afterlife, and many move on up from there. So that's that entry realm that we'll be put into, and I think it's a sudden one-day event. That the Earth will release energies that are held inside her, and finally make the move into fourth density. And she's taken decades to prepare us by slowly releasing this energy, which explains why people are suddenly these days are thinking higher thoughts faster than ever in history. Well, it's because these very same energies are being released to us slowly. So what will happen is we'll physically move into fourth density, and currently it's mostly the afterlife realms, other than ascended masters. Oh, well, there's ETs, of course, that most of them live in fourth density physical, but on Earth, it's traditionally the afterlife realm where your body is etheric, not physical. So here we are, we'll be going into with physical bodies that'll be less dense and yet still physical, still based on electric particles when we go into that realm. And once that happens, the cool thing about fourth density is it's heart-centered. The frequency is naturally of the heart chakra. So all the conflict you see in this world today that's typical of solar plexus competitiveness and anger and whatever, all that is morphed into heart-centered consciousness, which means it's very easy, or will be very easy, to get along with people, to cooperate, to build a better world in a real sense. And And people won't have to do the upgrade, but they'll feel pretty strange after the ascension day. And, you know, a lot of them may just decide to find an excuse to quit. Who knows? These are all speculations, but the day is on the way, and I think quite well, possibly before the end of this decade, it's liable to click in. It varies back and forth with world events. So you know, you can remote view and try to get estimates on when it'll be, but you need to keep updating those things. So anyway, that's if you're curious about the densities, by the way, we're in third density physical, and there is no Earth below us. There's no second or first density planet Earth. But the particles that make up our bodies are first density consciousness. They're basic matter. And then in the second density level of consciousness, that tends to be plants, vegetables, wild animals, that kind of thing. Third density, human with intellect and self-awareness. And that goes from the at the bottom level, the hierarchical stuff that we saw 500 years ago, and then to the higher third density is mastery of the intellect, and we've seen enormous growth in science and mastery of the environment thanks to that. And then fourth density, as I said, heart-centered is the thrust. And in fifth, you've got the soul in the mental realms. And if you want to keep going, there's 9 densities in creation. The sixth density is the angelic realms. And that can include archangels, which have consciousness fields that are the size of the planet. They're actually enormous, even if they appear to have a physical form when they contact people. Their actual field of consciousness is just enormous. And then in seventh density, the soul of planet Earth, Gaia, and going on up, the 8th is the sun, and the 9th is the soul of the galaxy. And there you are with 9 densities within creation, which means the creator is bigger than all that because the creation is within its mind. So that's the whole scale of it, you know. And when people talk dimension, I stick to the density things because they're easier to define. You can see the levels and organize things. Okay, that's how the shift is going.
Wow, yes, it's great. It's accelerating. I mean, I suppose you are feeling this way as well. I mean, it's not linear. It's not a linear progression. It seems like it's really accelerating on a.
Oh yeah, exactly. People have noticed that the accelerating rate of change. It's really quite stunning, and even this year, it's accelerating since the start of the year. You know, the political shifts and financial things, they're all going crazy quietly, aren't they?
Yes, this turmoil is this sign of the bubbling, so to speak. Don't you feel it? Don't
Oh
you think?
yeah, yeah. It's well, I guess it's that upgrading energy that's finding its way out. I've heard it said that we're also lining up with the center of the galaxy. Yeah, center of the galaxy. We're lining up, and therefore receiving more cosmic energy. Well, that's another line of thought, independent of the idea that the Earth has energy specifically for the purpose of the Earth, but yeah, an increase in cosmic energy that affects the galaxy.
Yes, that's so wonderful to be living through this era. And you have just released a new book, which is called The 12 Graces, Gifts from God. So I was wondering, how can grace help us both as individuals and as a collective to promote us through this shift?
Well, it helps big time with all these crazy changes and all the bad news that floats around. I was being prompted to write something along those lines for the last many weeks, and I could see that the idea was that if people have something higher to focus upon and to contemplate upon, it helps counter all the negative side effects of the changes that are going on in the world. We're in a lot of warlike energy, for example, and that can be resolved. What the more spiritual thoughts people think. The 12 graces are a definition of the different types of energies that come from the divine and are accessible to us if we look up and receive them. But you have to be aware that they exist and tune into them. And the 12 graces defines what they are. You know, things like kindness is one that has many subcategories, and you know, it's a very 4D grace. So if you're aware of those, that they are provided by the divine in order to help us meet the challenges of the world and evolve. These are, well, gifts from God, as the subtitle of the book says. So it's just been released on Amazon just a few days ago, and it's just a booklet, so it costs next to nothing. uh, but it's there to help people look up and maybe turn off the news. That's always a good idea, I think.
Mm. Yes, it's to open up to those the beauty there is in this world anyway. All the time we are surrounded by this beauty, but it takes us to look at this beauty instead of
Mm,
something else.
sure. Yeah, like going into nature, you know, what a wonderful thing a walk in the woods can be. Phew, all of a sudden, you know.
Mm. Well, to wrap up this conversation, Owen, would you like to share any final words of wisdom?
Oh, I don't know. Changing times. I don't know. I think I've covered a lot of it. The ascension coming up is something that'll change everything. We do seem to have a couple of difficult years to go through with the way world events are, but uh, the more people raise their consciousness and think in terms of divine graces that you can attach to and benefit from, and that can fill you with upliftment and the inspiration. And the more you think of that, the more it affects the mind belt. That's something I didn't mention earlier. There's a global mind atmosphere that surrounds the planet, just like the air atmosphere, and it's full of people's thoughts and emotions, and there's different frequency bands of it. But the more people think and do spiritual things, and doing spiritual means service to others, uh, with the motivation of helpfulness more so than self-gain. Although there's nothing wrong with earning a living, doing what you love, it's the perfect way to live, really. Um, but people affect the mind belt and then it affects others. People pick it up because even though we tend not to be consciously telepathic, our superconscious souls certainly are, and our subconscious minds are too. And our subconscious minds pick up whatever frequency of thoughts we're into at the time and process them subconsciously. And whatever you're thinking and feeling is fed into the mind belt. So and the interesting thing is about the energies in the mind belt. There was a work done about the scale of human consciousness, and it turns out that the higher in frequency you go, the more effect it has on the global mind belt. So, and oddly enough, it's logarithmic. It goes up like a hockey stick on a graph, um, and so you know, a person who gets into spiritual thinking can actually affect and uplift thousands of people who are at a statistically average level of thinking globally. It's called the Hawkins scale of consciousness. He wrote a book called Power versus Force. It's an odd title, but that's where he documented his discoveries on the different levels of human consciousness and assigned numbers to them. And I think the global rate was something like 220 on a scale of 1 to 1,000. And if you get into really deep spiritual meditations, really deep, you can actually affect millions of people with your influence on the mind belt. So there's a lot to be said for those morning meditations, that's for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that's mind-blowing. That yes, it's really the I'm looking for the name of this little bird, you know, the tiny bird which when he drops one drop of water, it makes a big effect. Well, anyway.
Not a hummingbird.
Which one?
Not a hummingbird?
Yes,
No.
the hummingbird, yes.
It is, okay.
The theory, you know, of the hummingbird. It's such a tiny bird, but it can make such a big effect. That's why you were mentioning this. It made me think of this. So thank you for this beautiful conclusion. And you are also offering a free gift to our audience. You are offering affirmations, and they are called the Ultimate Consciousness Raising Affirmations. Of course, it links up to all, it ties into everything that we were saying, but can you add a few words on those?
Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Ultimate Consciousness Raising Affirmations. Yeah, that's a useful thing. A lot of confusion on mantras, specifically the mantra OM or OM versus the one that's AUM. People confuse them and think they're the same. And if you look in Wikipedia, which never tells you anything good spiritually, it's somehow they don't, the people who wrote the articles on those mantras don't know what they mean either. But here's the meaning. OM means I am. It's Sanskrit for the English phrase, I am. It's an affirmation of your divinity, your source, not I am personally, the personality, but I am infinite being is basically what you're saying. And I've for several years, I've recommended that as a mantra for meditation. It's an alternative to Om, which is in a Sanskrit language. The AUM is actually the subtle sound that comes from the sun. So these yogis tell us there's an A and a U and an M. It's the sound of creation that the sun is using to distribute energy on many levels to the solar system. So, if you intone the A and the U and the M, that's very different to Om, which is just like that, and usually said in threes by yogis, like Om, Om, Om as an affirmation that holds your attention in meditation. But anyway, the article is at infinitebeing.com/free, FREE, and they'll take you straight to it.
Yes, I will share this on your page. Well, it's beautiful to have spoken on. I mean, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for being here with us, Owen. And I'm sure our audience really enjoyed and received so much from this conversation. Thank you again.
Oh, good.
And namaste.
Thank you. My pleasure. And I know it's a lot of information in a short time, but I hope it helps a lot of people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.